So here's the $1,000 question I have to ask myself. My insurance went up by somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,000 a year by owning this Tesla Model 3. Okay, they call it a luxury car. It really doesn't fall into a class like that, like some of the luxury cars. Don't get me wrong, it's really nice and all of that, and it's well made and all those things. And maybe it's a little higher end than some of the other cars I've driven, but I don't classify it in the same way that I think about, some of these other luxury cars, an Audi or a BMW or those kinds of things. And maybe it's just me. But my insurance went up, and I think as I've researched this a little bit online, I found that there are more people who say their insurance went up than people who say their insurance went down. It turns out that my sister-in-law actually purchased a Tesla Model 3 and her insurance went down. She lives on the West Coast, and there's other incentives and other reasons that it goes down. But it's interesting because you hear this mix of different things, but mostly people talk about their insurance rates going up. So it costs you more on the whole to own your Tesla Model 3. So the question is, how do you compensate for that? And I discovered recently that Tesla is going to try and do something here. They're going to try and work with an insurance company to offer insurance through the Tesla company that'll be administered by some third party. I've heard Liberty Mutual. I don't know if that's true. That's just what I've heard to this point. But the caveat is, while your insurance rate will go down, you agree, or you will agree, to share your personal data about your driving habits with the insurance company. So I have to ponder that. That's my $1,000 question. Is that worthwhile? And my short answer right now is, yeah, it probably is. As we drive these Model 3s and people who drive all of the Teslas, because you're connected, you're actually sharing a large amount of your data, your driving habits, where you go, how long it takes you to get there, your battery performance, all of those things are being shared with Tesla. But they're primarily being shared as an aggregated number. So they're taking the 1,000 cars that are in this area and taking all that data and sending it up there and saying, hey, here's the cars that are using the battery, and here's how they're using it, and whatever. So that data is really sanitized and anonymized, so nobody knows who you are personally. You're just one data point among many that's giving information about your car. But in the case of insurance, they want to actually know who you are. They want to know something about your driving habits. And on the one hand, it's a little disconcerting because now I'm giving up a lot of information about myself. On the other hand, again, it broadens the whole network of what we have with all of these different pieces of information that will help driving patterns and help the insurance industry. And hopefully, if this is done right and administered properly, it would help drive the insurance industry in a different direction. I live in South Florida. The insurance rates are very high here for cars, homes, personal injury, all of these things. And the reason for that is because insurance fraud is rampant. As I heard a story recently, the FBI actually has its insurance fraud division here, based out of Miami here, because they realize that it's so rampant they need to have an office here that's managing all the insurance fraud. So given that piece of information, if you have more information about your drivers and you can offer a lower insurance rate to them as a result of all of that, isn't that a win? Doesn't everybody win from that? Don't you start to grow a better source of data and you have better information to work from? So hopefully you could reduce some of that fraud from the fringes at least, because now you have legitimate consumers who are driving their cars and doing their things, and you have some information about them. So on the one hand, that's a really positive thing, that you're building a better community. So Tesla indirectly and then somewhat directly is taking on the insurance industry because that's the next barrier. If people are saying, yeah, my car cost me more because my insurance went up, they're not going to sell as many cars. So it's in their vested interest to try and reduce the insurance rates as much as they can. And one way to do that is to offer insurance through some underwriter, through some company that offers insurance. Now, the downside of it is, of course, that they're actually tracking and monitoring me. So they'll actually see what my driving habits are and where I go and what I do and how fast I go and how much I use the battery. In today's world, you call your insurance company and you say, hey, I'm driving $1,000 a month, 1,000 miles a month, and that's 12,000 miles in a year. And they go, okay, check it off. And, on the whole, I probably do drive about that. It's probably pretty close. But now they would actually know exactly how many I drive and where I'm driving to. So they'd find out if I was in riskier areas or whatever, right? So they could decide how to do my insurance. And with the data about whether I stop completely at a stop sign, or whether I'm a risk because my collision warning comes on more often, or whether I'm using autopilot, all of those things may factor into my insurance rate in some way. They may also take it into account the speed that you travel. Now, I have a friend of mine who was talking to me about this. We had a discussion about it yesterday, and he was saying, it's funny because you're probably fine as far as giving up your information because you're a safe driver, right? He goes, I'm a fast driver. I have a lead foot. I am always going way over the speed limit. I tend to, kind of shimmy and shake through an intersection, that kind of a thing, instead of stopping at a stop sign. All of those things probably would raise my rate because I'm a risky driver in that sense. He goes, I'm fairly safe in the general sense, but as far as actually driving, it's a little harder for me because I have a tendency to drive a little bit in a riskier perspective. So it was interesting because I thought about that for a minute and I went, wow, okay, so his rate may be higher than mine perhaps. And then I started thinking about it. It allows for individualized rates to a degree because you don't necessarily say this person is going to pay this rate and this person is going to pay the same rate because they live in the same zip code. No, you could actually charge varying rates based on the individual. Now, Tesla, of course, and the insurance companies are not the first companies to do this. Many of the insurance companies offer a device that you can plug into the port on your car that monitors data from your car. All cars have computers in them these days, so all of that data is transmitted out and sent to the insurance company. And I think Progressive has it. I think Geico has it, and it's they have different names for it, but they're devices that you plug in, and it monitors your data and sends it back so that you're actually finding out if you're a safe driver and you get the safe driver discount. Same principle, and you're giving up your anonymity in the same way for these other insurance companies in a completely different kind of car. So on the balance, what's the difference anymore? There's no true privacy the way there used to be. I mean, you have a cell phone, you have, you're driving your car, there's GPS tracking on a lot of them these days. If you have OnStar, you're always being tracked. If you're driving a Tesla, you're always being tracked. So all of these things happen, and does it really matter? I don't know. That's the $1,000 question. I'm very curious to see when they actually come up with the rate and tell us what it would be. I'm curious to see how much I might actually save, and also what I'd be giving up, because I may consider it to lower my cost. So just something to think about. And it occurred to me yesterday as I was listening to the stories about this and reading up on it, that it was something I just wanted to talk about. Call it the Tesla Model 3 confessional if you want. I'm actually talking about something that I was kind of thinking about to potentially save a couple of bucks, and we'll see. I am curious what Tesla gets out of this on the whole. I think I know, but I'm curious what they get out of it on the whole, and what the insurance company that they work with gets out of it as well. So we'll see if I do it. I'll let you know and keep you apprised of it.